You know the vibes. Welcome back to another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast. If you tuned in yesterday, you will have heard part one of our conversation with Brian Scalabrine, the Boston Celtics legend, aka the White Mamba. But if you didn't, I suggest you go back to yesterday's show and listen to that one, because this is part two of our conversation, an extended edition. Listen, I don't want to gas it up too much to you guys. All I know is this is a great episode. If you do enjoy these episodes, please share this show with your friends, any basketball lovers in your life. Let them know this is the show they need to be rocking with. We appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. And the more you support the show, the more amazing guests we can get in, like Mr. Brian Scalabrine. So, show some love on social media, spread the show around. And first of all, I got to give you a warning. If there's any offensive language, Scal is just a guy who keeps it very real. So we apologize for that in advance. But, this episode comes straight unfiltered, uncensored, straight basketball talk. Myself, Mo Mutsi, alongside a three-time NBA champion, BJ Armstrong, and a one-time NBA champion, but cult hero, icon, legend, Brian Scalabrine. Enjoy part two of this conversation. Catch up with you guys later on.
Here's where we both agree. To win in the playoffs, you got to have a motherfucker on your team, right? Like a guy, like a stone cold assassin killer, right? You do. So when I look at and I always talk about this too. There's low level, mid level, high level, and then supernova level, right? You ain't gonna point at any championship team that isn't supernova. Supernova is so locked in defensively, so unbelievably locked in offensively, where you play perfect defense all game and they still hit you up shooting 48%, give you 113, 115 points, right? So I like the Phoenix Suns, and they are good at everything. They got inside, they got outside, they can defend, they can switch. Like DeAndre Ayton is tough, like they're good. Chris Paul, Booker. But to me, they're not supernova. They're just not. When I watch them, like there's no supernova level where I'm like, they're just as good as it gets in the regular season. So the Warriors, when you throw Draymond Green out there, and you have Iguodala, you have the high IQ with the shooting. I think they have a supernova level that they can go to. But health comes into play. You see Steph Curry just got hurt. So if everyone was healthy, I would pick the Warriors. The Warriors are going to have to battle with Memphis if it's 2-3 and they got to go on the road. Memphis is good, obviously, Ja. But I'm curious about Denver with Jamal Murray, and I'm curious about Dallas because they look like a really good team. And Luka is, man, I should ask you, Beach.
Yeah.
How is he that good? How is he the biggest, strongest guy in the NBA right now?
Okay, sorry, Mo. Can we just go? This Scal and I, this is what we do.
Whatever
take 6 minutes. We won't go 6 hours.
We won't. Okay.
It's all good.
All right, Scal. Okay, here's what's going on with this guy. I'm convinced now of watching him. I watched him in the Olympics because I wanted to see Scal how he was going to do in the Olympics. Because that's the international game. He was incredible. I thought he was going to be the MVP this year because he was so good. And I was like, because he always has problems getting into shape. He's still at that phase of his career. Well, I'll just play myself into shape. Scal, I haven't seen a player yet that plays the game with this level of physicality, and he's also finesse all in the same.
Yeah. He plays through contact. Like you ain't even, let me explain to you. Contact is the motherfucker for most people. You get it? And it's hard. Like it's just for anybody listening to this podcast, think about doing something and then think about like someone pushing on you or like even if they're tapping you, right? It's hard to focus. Dude, like not only is he initiating contact, dismissing dudes out of the way, he's as poised as it gets. It's amazing. And it's not MJ or anybody that used to just blow by people with the physicality. He is dismissing you. It's unlike any player I have ever seen. Kawhi Leonard's a little bit like that, but he doesn't.
He doesn't have handle like it. This guy, his handle. No,
Well,
his
he's been
handle
doing
is-
this. He's been doing this since he went to Real Madrid at 13, played for the first team at age 16. So he's 16 years old,
Yeah.
and he's having to deal with the EuroLeague physicality and being a point guard for Real Madrid every time he checks into the game.
Yeah.
So,
but that they ain't going against Marcus Smart. And Marcus Smart is a beast, man. People like get rid of the ball around him.
Right.
He just dislodges him. Like, get out of my way. I'm going to the cup. I'm like, how are you doing that, man? I watch him every day. I watch Smart every day, and like people are like legitimately shook going against him. And he's like, ha ha ha, in the handle, makes a mistake, gone. Got you on my hip. It's over for you. And I'm gonna do it slow. So along the way, if you help, I'm gonna see that. I'm gonna throw it up. I'm gonna kick it out. Like, man, that guy's a monster. He's a monster right now. So I think Dallas. That when you talk about supernova, like Luka is supernova. Like he goes to a level that no one else can touch. So they're a really interesting team in the playoffs. But go ahead, Beach.
Yeah, he does this, and he plays so physical that he dictates what he wants to do. And now with Jason Kidd being the way he thinks, because Jason Kidd was one of the few players who could dominate a game, win a game, and didn't have to score. And as I'm watching Luka now, and the thing about Luka that's interesting to me is he's not as reckless as taking tough shots anymore.
Yeah.
He's starting to take the shots he wants, which allows them to eliminate easy transition buckets. That's why they're better defensively, because as you know, when you have a good offense, sound principles, that allows your defense to set up. Luka doesn't take a lot of what I call just, superstar shots just because he can. Now he's taking his shots. The rotations are back, and they have 2 or 3 now initiators of the offense, which allows Luka to go. He can start below the free throw line. Sometimes he puts in the front. This is the matchup we want. He played the Lakers one night, Scal, and I wish you and I were watching the game together. They picked who they wanted to put in every screen roll. They didn't run screen roll because 1-4. They were just like, we want him. And they would just keep running around until they got that matchup. They would get their offense set, and then they would attack. And Jason Kidd has them believing now that they are as good because they know they can get a shot against anybody, a good shot. And as you know, Scal, when you're talking about being a champion, when you know you can get the shot you want, you got a chance. Yeah. And I think they're starting to believe now, Scal.
Hey, watch a Brooklyn Nets game. And like I just told you guys earlier, Durant to me is the best player in the world, right?
Can we debate about that? Can we debate about that, Scal?
Well, just give me a second here, and then we can debate about it, right? So Durant to me is the best player in the world, but so Durant gets double teamed and he get rid of that ball quick, right?
Right.
So quick that the guy is not, his feet aren't set. He's like, you'd have to catch, you have to kind of catch it with your back or side to the basket. And now you have to square up. Now you got to read all that stuff, right? When Luka gets that double team, and he just puts that ball out on a string. He waits for the guys to move. They get to their spot. Their feet are set. He leads them to a pass, but he's walking it. If that guy needs to drive, he'll lead him. He'll put the ball where the guy, he's like making the decision for the guy he's passing to. And Jason Kidd used to do that for me. Everyone wonders how I got 11 years, right? And it was amazing when I went to Boston. And I was good with the starting group. I was never, ever good with that backup team. But I played a lot with Jason Kidd. The Nets liked me on the floor with him. I was a good outletter, right? Or take that out of the net quickly. So, a few things are like, man, you know what? With Scal and Kidd, it's a good combination. But Jason, things like made all my decisions for me. Think about how good you have to be to do that. Yeah. He's driving, and I know when if he puts that ball like in front of me, he wants me to drive it. If he puts that ball right to me, like in the zip pass, he wants me to shoot it. So it just became really natural that he was making those decisions for me, right? And I think Luka has a little bit of that in him.
Yeah, he does.
He's making the decisions for Brunson, for Spencer Dinwiddie, for Kleber, and those guys are now like really attacking off of it. So the Celtics, who don't double team anybody, were double teaming Luka late in the game, and it was a glaring difference between when Dallas double teamed Tatum and the Celtics were struggling, and we were double teaming Luka, and the Mavericks were thriving. So go ahead about this KD thing.
So before you do the KD, do you think Luka just sees the game much slower than everyone else? Because I was listening, he was talking to JJ Redick, and he was saying, well, when I'm coming off a screen roll or whenever I'm looking to attack the paint, I'm calculating how many seconds the big man has been in the paint to see if he needs to leave after 3 seconds. I've never heard a player talk about looking at the help defenders, looking at the big man in the paint like that. I don't know if he just sees, if he's just playing at his own pace, but he's processing everything way quicker, which makes the game slow down, if that makes sense.
I think the biggest thing, he's not worried about his defender so there's depths of defense, right? So just to understand the layers, right? Let's start with your man is 1. Like, he ain't looking at him. I can guarantee you. Help guy, so guys on the perimeter are 2. Big man is 3. Low man is 4, right? So in his mind, he sees the help, but he can know, like he reads that. His guy is not a problem at all. So now it's about reading the big and reading low man. And Steve Nash was amazing. Like, Steve Nash was the best I've ever played against at reading low man. He was better than Kidd in the half court at reading low man.
You think so? You think so?
In the half court at reading low man. Man, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna shit my pants when Steve Nash came off a pick and roll. So first of all, they used to have in the NBA, big man used to duck in. You remember they used to be on the block and the pick and roll would happen and the big man would duck in. So you got the roll responsibility coming from the right, and then you had the duck in guy. So I'm on the block, and my biggest responsibility would be just to meet the guy outside the block. That's not actually that hard. As soon as I read the gather, here comes the gather, I'm on the move, right? So I'm playing Phoenix, right? I'll tell you, this is like in 03. Steve Nash comes off a pick and roll, and that motherfucker is staring me right in the face like this, right? He's not looking right. He's not looking left. He's not doing anything, right? And then the guy was not ducking in. It was, man, who was that? Maybe it was Sean Marion? I think Sean Marion, my guy, was at the 3-point line. So first of all, I'm thinking, well, the guy's not ducking in, so I can't guard him at the 3, and I can't guard him on the dunk. And then second of all, Steve Nash comes off the screen, and he's looking me right in the eyes, and he's waiting for me to move. So I'm thinking, I got the roll man. So I swear to God, my brain said to move, and he threw the ball the other way. I don't even think I moved yet. I think I was like, I'm going to go this way. As soon as I went like, boom, Marion hits the 3. All right, so the next possession, he comes down. Same shit. Send the screen, Stoudemire, rolling, right? I got roll responsibility. Last time I got burned with the 3, here he comes again, staring me right in the eye. And I'm like, I got to build out to 3. So I put the weight on my right foot to build out. He threw a pocket pass to Stoudemire. All of a sudden, I went like that. I had to get back. Fucking Stoudemire dunks it on me. We played a game. I get in the car. So I drive home with my wife. I get in 2003. I'm driving home. I said, holy shit, that's the future of the game right there. That was the hardest thing I ever had to guard with the corner shooter, with the corner duck-in man at the 3. So guess what I start doing? Immediately, instead of ducking in, which I'm never going to score on a duck-in, I started peeling out, and Kidd loved it. Kidd would turn the corner, my man would have to peel out, or I get a wide open shot, and then Kidd used to love running that pick and roll from that. But once I saw that, I thought, I don't know when it was going to happen, but like D'Antoni doesn't get a lot of credit for this pace and space because the Warriors do. But man, that right there was the hardest thing I ever had to guard, and I knew the NBA would change. And that's the reason why I got 11 years out of the league, because I said right away, I'm like, I'm not going in there and fighting anymore. Why would I? I can knock that corner 3 all day. It's an easy pass. It's coming right to me just to shoot it. And it gives a bunch of space for Kidd or the Kenya Martin or whoever's rolling on the opposite side. So I just started peeling out because of that game. And Steve Nash was the one that made me think, like, what am I doing that? Like, I'm going against my coaches, and I'm doing what Steve Nash basically taught me as a visiting guy coming in.
So what did you think he was looking at? Like, did he see the game, the spacing of the game, or did he just find, like, sometime, all great players always look for space. What space do you think he saw that the rest of us or at the time in the league didn't see?
I don't watch a ton of football, but you ever seen that overhead cam where the quarterback drops back and throws it and the dude's
Right.
nowhere near open? And it's, if you watch it again, like Tony Romo used his fucking marker and he circled. The safeties took a step forward. Once he saw that step, bam, he aired out that pass. So he's basically reading like the shifts of my body. So he's not reading space because, I mean, in a way he is, but he's waiting for me to make a decision. So he's reading me. And as soon as I made a shift, like I was going to where, because, no one moves perfectly. Everyone, like drops their shoulders or, whatever. And as soon as I made a move, he would go the opposite way. So I think he's just reading what we were just talking about with Luka. I think he's reading low man and my low man responsibilities. And I think with Luka, he's not worried about his man. I think he's handling the big in the coverage, but that third defender, he's just waiting for that guy. And that's the decision that he makes. And that's why you'll see a lot of times he'll jump in the air or he'll look one way, that guy will go, and then he'll snap that pass to the other way. So he's just letting that guy, kind of get moving. LeBron is also like that too. LeBron was phenomenal at, reading the shift of your body weight.
Scal, you said it a couple times now.
Here we go.
KD is the best player in the game.
Best in the world.
Now we have to talk about who's the best in the game. Scal watches the game. Scal know I'm watching every game. And I want to hear Scal because this is what we do, right, Scal? This is what we do. Who's the best player in the game and why?
So it's KD because he can score, defend, and he can get any shot he wants at any time. I know you're going to say Giannis. How
do you know I'm going to say Giannis? I haven't even said Giannis yet.
He must be a regular listener.
Go ahead. I think it's KD.
Go tell me. I want to hear because Scal, you know the game. Like this isn't like, you know the game. I respect what you're saying. And you watch these guys, you cover these guys. But tell me why KD. I think KD is incredible. Like KD is one of those players, they always say new school. KD can play in any era and he would be literally KD. But I want to hear from you. You've played it, you coached it, now you're broadcasting. Just tell me why. Like, why is he so effective as a player?
Unstoppable one-on-one. Makes
Agreed.
people around him better because of it. Like,
Agreed.
Doesn't force the issue. He doesn't get enough credit defensively, but he guards at a high level. He's long.
Agreed.
It could be a better rebounder, but I'm not really sweating on that. I mean, obviously he's not crashing offensive rebounds, but he, defensive boards. I think, late in games, he's not afraid. He saw that play against the Knicks, had it, gave it up, got it back, went baseline, tripped, gave it up, relocated to three, stuck to three, like not tired, like it's great shape, plays big minutes. Yeah, just think work, like legendary work habits with the, this legendary 35 minutes after practice, what he does, it like goes 100% on every rep, loves it, studies it, like all that stuff comes into play, recognizes the greatness of the pass and, like the players coming up right now. So, it has that edge. I think he had like those are all qualities that I would want. I don't think he's into that Instagram burner account stuff anymore. I feel like he's beyond all that. So maturity wise, like he thinks of himself as an elite champion, like, those things. So I think that's, my opinion, that's what I would, if I was going after a player, that'd be like the player I would go after.
Kevin, first, I want to say this about Kevin. We're just speaking technically. Kevin Durant is an incredible, incredible player because he's the first player, Scal, that I saw who was open on the offensive end every time he caught the ball. Like when he catches the ball below the free throw line or below, at the free throw line or below, he's already open. He doesn't have to make a move because he can just catch it and shoot it. He shoots under duress because he can, I feel, and I don't know what it's like to be 7 foot, but he can always see the basket. You and I could not always see the basket.
Yeah.
Every time he catches the ball, he's unstoppable. He's unguardable. Like, how do you guard that? He catches the ball, you're up on him, he can just turn around and shoot. And that's like the only other player I knew like that. And I would hear George Gervin talk about that. Like I was 6'7" playing the 2 guard. He never worried about anyone blocking his shot. Okay. I think he's an incredible. He's a weapon in the NBA that you just have to say, like, what can you do? Like, how do you match up with this guy? Is he a 3 or 4? You can't put a big guy on him. You can't put a small guy on him. He can shoot over the double team, and he's wiry strong. He's stronger than you think because he can get down there and he's not afraid. You know, I love that little incident he had with Joel Embiid. You got to love him. Yeah. But this guy, Giannis, I find very, very interesting because one, he's playing and he's an unfinished product. When I mean he's unfinished, he has room to improve, and every
100%. 100%.
Okay. And what the thing that I really find interesting about him is he knows how to dictate the tempo of the game. He doesn't always have to score to dictate how the game is going to be played, because when he rebounds it and pushes it out, that's a problem. Because there's no defense in the world. That was what I learned from Scottie Pippen and Magic Johnson, all right? You didn't play against Magic. When you're 6'8", 6'9", dribbling the ball down the court like Scottie and those guys, you're dictating the tempo because you're covering ground that us little guys couldn't cover. Giannis will one dribble from half court, he's already at the basket. Scottie was 2 dribbles. Giannis can dictate, and that is a real problem because you got to figure out how to guard him, not stop him. You got to just figure out how to like contain him. And then his ability to rim protect and what he does as a defensive player, I think this guy, it's when you put another all defensive player around him, another big, like if he played with Kawhi Leonard, I think it would be impossible to score. If he played with Kevin Durant or Joel Embiid or someone at that level, Scout, I don't think you could score on him just because of his ability. And when he gets a consistent jump shot, Scout, I don't even care if he gets out to 3. If he just gets a consistent jump shot, I think it's going to be impossible to beat him. That's why I think he's the most impactful player. Kevin Durant is the most skilled, without question. But the most impactful player with impacting the game in every phase of the game, this guy can impact the game in ways that he doesn't have to just get touches. He can offensive rebound. He can defensive rebound. He can switch. He can rim protect. He can play fast. He can play slow. You have to double team him. And he has those big hands, Scal. As you know, I love those big hands.
Yeah.
He can take on the double team. And when you see guys can take on the double team with one hand, it gives you an unfair advantage.
Yeah. I get all that, but
yeah,
you don't have a go-to shot.
He doesn't have a go-to shot. But he doesn't have a go, but he has a, but it's like Scal. Yeah. It's like he keeps pushing the envelope for 48 minutes. Like Scal, that's a lot of pressure. Because you can't, how do you game plan for someone who's going to play a full 48 minutes in every phase of the game?
I mean, you really can't. No, I understand. If he had, like, I never understood why, like, you know, that he's a worker, right? And
man, he's unbelievable.
Yeah. And having these debates is tough because it's like, it feels like you're putting one guy down and you're.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not putting, listen.
Nah. Yeah. But I feel like you have to have, I feel like, you know, what's really interesting? LeBron is, you know, considered for a long time the best player in the world, but he also doesn't have like a go-to shot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I always feel like if a game is close and you need to go to something, you need to, like, if the game is close and you're playing Kevin Durant one-on-one, I don't care. He's gonna make a shot. You need a guy to make a shot.
I agree with that. I agree with that. No doubt about it. With that, no doubt about it.
Yeah,
no doubt about that.
There's not a guy in the NBA that you would say that you would want the ball in his hands at the end of the game more than KD. Maybe Luka, maybe Luka, but maybe not. Like, KD is like, any shot he wants, he's gonna get you a good look, inside, outside, turn the corner, pull up, step back. post.
How fun would it be? How fun would it be, Scal, to see KD versus Larry Bird in their primes?
I always tell your story. I always tell your story of Larry Bird to people all the time, and people howl when they hear about you checking in the game, and Larry said they let junior high kids in the NBA, and Jordan came up. No one say a word to Larry.
No, I
don't get it, man. I got a buddy. We talk about this all the time. If you had to rank, you had to use like a 3-year span. Like you got to take the prime 3 years.
Right.
Like Larry Bird is top 5 player.
No question. No, yeah, that's not even a debate with me. Yeah. Prime Larry Bird is not even a debate. That's not like, if you don't say that, Scal, I can't even prime Larry Bird.
Yeah. You take the injuries out.
Oh, yeah.
You take the longevity out. If you're just prime, you're in his prime, man.
Yeah. Do you take prime Bird over any 3 years of Kevin Durant's career?
Yeah. I know a lot of people use Kevin Durant as a benchmark. You have to look at it like this. Prime Larry was so much better than everybody else. Prime Durant, you can make an argument that LeBron was better than Durant. Prime LeBron was better than at the time. There was those 3 years he won MVP. He was so much better than everybody else.
Yeah. I just want to go back to what you said about KD and why you think he's the best player in the world. And you said if you have any player in the NBA to take a shot at the end of the game, you'd want Kevin Durant taking it. If you could have any player to try and get you a stop at the end of the game, if Kevin Durant's going to take a shot, or any player in the NBA is going to take a shot, and you had to pick someone to guard that possession, would you pick Giannis, or who would be your selection for that?
Oh my God, probably Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, if he's playing.
I don't know if I'd pick Giannis. Because Kawhi is a man. The NBA is loaded with athletes, good, big, strong guys, whatever, right? Kawhi is long. He got massive hands, right?
Right.
He when he puts his hand on you, you're feeling that. KD, if he had the ball and he was getting into that, he gets to skipping, right? And Kawhi put his hand out on him, man, that skip might stop right in his tracks. I think I would take, obviously healthy Kawhi Leonard to get a stop against any player. I don't think people understand how strong he is. He is
low center of gravity, right?
Never off balance.
Yeah, that is true. Because he's so low to the ground, he's low to the ground or something.
Yeah, and his hands, and he plays his legs and his hands. They move independently. You know how people slide, they slide. His hands are right there ready, and his legs are moving, and it's almost like he's disconnected. Jimmy Butler's also like that. He's just not as big and long, but Jimmy Butler's legs move independently to his upper body, so he could. Some guys just can't do that. I can't do that. I don't do that, right? Some guys, they can move that way. Kawhi Leonard, you add the length and the strength and the hands and everything. You add all that. I'd take him over anybody to get a stop for sure.
Man, I just think it's such a shame that we've missed so many years of Kawhi Leonard because of injuries. And I think the Clippers are going to be real scary coming back next year with Kawhi and Paul George. There was rumors about them coming back before the playoffs. I don't think they were true. But Scal, we were, back before we got sidetracked by this Giannis and KD debate, etc. You're breaking down the Western Conference. You said Phoenix couldn't go supernova to the level where you think all championships teams do. So are you saying whoever wins the East is going to be your pick? Because with Steph Curry out injured now, is he going to return in time for the playoffs? I don't know. I'm assuming that Phoenix gets through the West, but who's your pick to win it all this season?
The thing about the Warriors can win it all. The East could end up beating each other up. like to me, the Warriors, when healthy, are the most complete team offensively and defensively. So I think the Bucks would beat them. I think. I actually don't think Brooklyn would beat them personally, if it is the Warriors. But here's like that supernova level. Like you saw Milwaukee last year, they went supernova, and the Suns didn't play bad. They didn't play bad. They just like Giannis gets that steal and they throw it up. He dunked. It's like Chris Paul couldn't have done anything for better than that, right? So it's like, no, I just think the Bucks have a higher level to go to. Drew Holiday, like Chris Paul is really good defensively. Drew Holiday is a higher level hawking the ball. So I don't know, but the Warriors, they're different, man. Like Draymond's a tough matchup for a lot of people. He's just so smart, man. When I was coaching the Warriors, I couldn't believe it, man. Like his reading of the gather in the NBA. I was with Kevin Garnett, who won Defensive Player of the Year, and he's on top of it. Draymond moves first. Like when you're doing a shell drill, if you could slow down, like the Apple iPhone, it has slow motion video. If you slow motion everything, Draymond would move and everyone else would move, and the ball would be passed. Draymond would be on the run. He could be down the floor. The ball starts to get passed. He's on the catch. He's different, man, and he can move his feet. He can guard on the ball. He can guard off the ball. Like he's as complete as it gets defensively. His mind is super high powered, right? And offensively the same way. So Warriors healthy, I think they're tough, man. But they have to be spot on healthy.
Did you watch the game when the Warriors played Phoenix? I think it was on Christmas.
Yeah.
They put Draymond on Chris Paul.
Yeah.
And he picked him up full court.
I know. It's amazing, man. He's amazing. I feel like I'm like a Draymond apologist because I don't think people recognize how good he is, man.
Yeah, I agree with
He is so good, man.
Yeah.
He thinks the game at such a high. It's not like there's basketball IQ, right? That's one thing. And then there's like microprocessing, right? Like his microprocessor is elite, man. I mean, talking about Luka checking people out. He's catching the ball with his back to everybody on the run, goes, elevates, fakes the lob, bam. Klay Thompson wide open in corner. Wiggins wide open. Like his brain. Jokic is like that too. Like Jokic is like that, just not as complete as the defensive player, but Jokic can check off really fast. But man, like Draymond is elite.
Scott, what do you think of this kid, Jokic?
Oh, I love him, dude. I watch him all day, man. He embarrasses the NBA, dude. The only problem is he can't score at a high enough clip for me. Like,
what?
I don't, not like in the, their net rating in the fourth quarter is really bad. And even with him on the floor, it's like they're on court. He's like a plus net. I think he's like 18 now. When he's on the floor, they're 18 points better. When he's off the floor, they're like minus 10 points. That's a 30-point or like almost a 30-point swing, right? But in the fourth quarter, it's not the same. Like it's not the same. I think they need like a Jamal Murray or something like that. Or like their guys, the guys who they fit around their team, they're not necessarily maybe built for that. Like maybe when they get Jamal Murray back, or I'm not a big Michael Porter Jr. fan, but I do think those guys would get wide open shot. Like, dude, if Jokic was on the Warriors, oh my God, hitting Steph Curry and all, it'd be unstoppable.
Right.
Do you think how much do you think that goes into him being kind of a little bit out of shape, the same way they used to say it about Luka?
Dude, white guys are ever gonna look like all cut up and stuff like that. It's just not how they roll. I don't like. It's just not how we roll. We get all red and shit in the face when we start running. Like DJ looks like $1 million when he's out there, man. Like white dudes aren't gonna look the same way. Like Luka is like legitimately out of shape. Jokic is not out of shape, man. Like
he just looks.
Just understand. There's something called. But there's some brothers that have whack bodies too now. There's not. But no, man, it's just like. And by the way, to me, in shape means playing. Jokic doesn't miss games, dude. He plays.
He plays all the minutes. He carries that team.
I got all kinds of dudes who, like all these guys cut up, missing games all the time, sore foot, sore this. Luka and Jokic, both those guys, they play, So I don't think it's an out of shape thing with the fourth quarter. I just think like when like some of the shots that they get throughout the game, the flow of the game, it's not going to be like that in the fourth quarter. That's why they need Jamal Murray to have the ball in his hand and create. But no, man, the guy's in shape. He's just not gonna. He ain't ever gonna have a six-pack. Like it ain't no.
He was saying in an interview the other day, his favorite thing in the world is ice cream. I respect him, man. I just want to go back to Draymond real quick. Dre came out recently and he said, even though he missed so much time with injuries, he still feels like he's the defensive player of the year because no one else has been able to assert themselves as a leader in that race. Who is your pick for defensive player of the year? Because I always say at the start of every season, every year BJ and I do the show, I always say I'm picking Marcus Smart, and he'll never win it because guards don't win the award. But it's my tradition every season. I pick because for me, he's a guard who can guard 1 through 5. No one wants, like you said earlier, they move the ball away from him when other teams are attacking him. But who's your pick for defensive player of the year this year?
To me, it's up. And listen, people aren't going to vote these guys, but it's Mikal Bridges and Jaren Jackson Jr. Those are the two guys that I pick. Marcus, it's fine. Like Marcus and Rob, you mentioned those guys.
Yeah.
A big stat in defensive player of the year, then the reason why Draymond and Rudy Gobert are always in it is because you have to look at on court and off court, right? When Rudy Gobert is on court, they're like net rating 20 better than when he's off the court, So
yeah,
you can like understand the impact. And I think the same thing with MVP. Ja can't win MVP because when he's out, they're like, I think they're 13-3 or something like that with Ja's out, right? So it's like you're MVP, and you put up MVP numbers, but your team does fine. It's not, they don't need, like, I'm not saying they don't need you for the regular season, but you have to kind of look at that. But I like Mikal Bridges. I think he guards everybody. I think he guards the best opponent. And sometimes it's Luka, and sometimes it's KD, and sometimes it's a point guard, sometimes it's Ja. So I give him a lot of credit. And Jaren Jackson Jr. has done a really good job this year with Memphis, right? So I think, to me, it's those two guys, and they play. I wish the NBA would stamp minimums on all the awards. I think, to me, my minimum would be like 68 games. You can't be missing 25 games, a quarter of the season, third of the season, still win any awards. So
the scoring title. The scoring title has 70%, so it's 58 games out of the 82. You have to play 70% to be the NBA's leading scorer for the season. So Kyrie Irving could average more points than anyone, but he wouldn't be eligible to be known as the league's leading scorer.
Yeah, another thing with the rebound champ, the assist and scoring, I would prefer the NBA switch to totals versus averages, because I think that guys would end up playing like
more games,
like 20 minutes. Yeah, like I think I think guys will say, you know what, today's a rest day for me, but instead I'm going to play 20 minutes. I'm going to play the second half. I think if the NBA switched to totals, I'd prefer that more than just like averages, right? Because you're right, it can be manipulated a little bit. So defensive player of the year is hard. I think everything else is like kind of, I think Embiid wins the MVP. Tyler Hero wins sixth man. I think Monty Williams was coach of the year. But I think defensive player of the year is up for grabs, really. And you'll see there'll be a lot of politicking for votes and stuff like that. But I like Bridges and Jaren Jackson Jr.
Scott, I want to bring this back to where we started right before we pushed the play button here and started recording. You said you guys have the last dance with Chicago. All right. I want. This is a league now of entertainment. Now we've talked about all the basketball.
Yeah,
and it was so funny. I want to end this today. The Bulls, they did the last dance, and you were giving me a hard time, as you should. Now we have the Lakers. Now they have Magic Johnson. And
winning time.
They have Showtime. Winning time. Okay. You're what Emmy? You're an Emmy, 4-time Emmy award winner?
I got 4 of the bad boys. It is kind of a participation award.
Yeah. So. Congrats. That's beautiful. So I've already anointed you the executive producer. When are we going to get the Celtic doc movie? When are we getting that? And when are you guys putting this together?
I don't know, man.
I just want to know who's going to play Doc Rivers. I want that voice.
Before, let me just jump in real quick. One thing that they did that was really cool. It was the season where Shaq was on the roster for the Celtics with Nate Robinson. They did a show called The Association. And so they had a camera crew
that was
the
good.
team around. And I thought, I don't know why they stopped doing that, because they did one for the Lakers with Kobe. They did one for the Celtics. That was my favorite show. I watched every episode about 100 times. But sorry, I hope someone from the NBA is listening and they start doing that again, because that was my favorite show ever. But go ahead, sorry.
That's because the NBA, they want to put out a product of like kumbaya roasting marshmallows and stuff like that. They ain't trying to put out, like, every time The Last Dance comes out and it's, like the Showtime thing, it's all like the drama, right? Which is probably more realistic. NBA doesn't want that stuff out there, like all that stuff. I don't think the league likes that. So I think that the what is it called? What's the one on Prime? Like, I watched the one for
Against
Man
All
City.
Odds.
Against All Odds. Those are really good. I like those a lot.
Tottenham have one as well.
But those are all like Pep is like, when I watched the one for Man City, Pep Guardiola, right?
Yeah,
like he's
that's
like
right.
the star of the show, right? And they show the other guys and stuff. They did that pretty good. But the NBA, they don't want the NBA players are messed up, man. They're like
Hey, Scal. That's another hour. What do you mean? They're messed up, Scal. They're messed up.
It's messed up from a real young age. Like, I just had a meeting with an AAU dude in Massachusetts, like, like top level. Like, this guy runs the best team in Massachusetts, dude. Like, I coach 14, 15-year-old girls, and they're great. I don't have to kick them off any cash. Like, I don't have to do that. My parents, I like, your kid's not good enough. She's just not in good enough shape. Like, what about my kid playing more? Well, when she gets in shape, then we'll have a conversation. I can't even tell you what she's not good at yet. It's all real conversations, right? But like, the world of basketball, the real world of basketball is not the association and what the NBA was. Like, come on, man, this thing is messed up.
Stop.
But it's great. But there's a lot. Come on, man. But
I think the reason why people like it is because even if it's not exactly what's happening, is a peek behind the curtain, just a little bit of what's happening. What Kendrick Perkins is traded, what's the team's reaction? Everyone's, because otherwise you don't see that, even with social media and stuff like that. You don't really see the true reactions of, okay, there was a camera in the locker room as soon as the team found out that Perk had been traded to OKC. And it's like, otherwise you don't see that kind of stuff. And I think that's why The Last Dance as well, everyone got to see the things that they don't usually get to see. So even though they can't show everything of what goes on, because they wouldn't be able to do that, and it's not 100% accurate to what goes on, I think fans still love, and media and everyone eats up just that behind the scenes kind of feel, that kind of access to the stuff that goes on that you don't get to see in the main broadcast.
Yeah. The Last Dance was a little bit of a Michael Jordan promotional video. So you have to admit that.
Hey, Scout, it's entertainment. It's all entertainment.
I watched it
Scout
twice.
I just want to be entertained.
Yep.
I just want to be entertained. Well, Scout, my man, it's been beautiful.
How'd you feel when Michael Jordan had that baseball bat in the locker room?
Scout, do you really want to know?
It's unbelievable,
Scout,
man.
All I kept really thinking, Scout, when I saw that, right? Okay, so I'll just tell you that, right? Just you and I talking.
Because it's just me and you.
Yeah, just
like old times.
Like old times, right? Just you and I, we're going to close the door behind us, right? The camera just happened to be going. So during that game, like, I really, like, you know how something, but you got to have a level of talent to do it. You know what I mean? It's like one thing to, like Scal, like, everyone's like, oh man, this guy's an unbelievable work. Well, Scal worked just as hard. BJ worked just as hard, but some of these guys are just so incredibly gifted. Hard work doesn't really matter, but you can't say that, right? You can't really say that. Okay. But as you know, Scal, when you are a competitor, there's some people who play hard, and there are some people who like to compete. You were one of those people, you love to compete. If you and I were playing any game, Scal's gonna be like, okay, let's run it back.
Yeah, I love competition.
Nothing better than Scal beating up random dudes who thought that they could take him on in games of one. That's one of my favorite. I said to B yesterday. That's one of my favorite moments I've ever seen from a retired NBA player. That needs to happen more, and I think that needs to happen more. Full stop. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no. So the competition part of it is like really why you play, and the thing that I love Scal more than anything was to compete. Like. Like, look, what can you do against Jordan? Those guys, like those guys are just like, they're incredible. But Scal, there are moments where you have your moment, and at any given moment, Scal, as you know, anyone could be beat.
For sure.
At any given moment, Scal, like at any given moment. And the thing that I knew was I knew how to beat him. Like my first year was Phil Jackson's first year. It wasn't like they knew something more that I didn't know. And at any given moment, I knew that, you could get a game. Maybe a game will turn to 2. You know how it is.
Yeah.
But if they make the adjustment, there's no adjustment I could do. So I knew what to do. And for that one game, Scal,
that was your day.
That was my day, Scal. Yeah. It's like Scal. It's like in practice, right? Being on the second unit, right? Because you and I were, we just started some, became Scal. At any given moment, you can beat the first unit.
Oh, on any given day.
And Scal. And it was your job to let them know.
Until you piss off the first unit.
Until you piss them off. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what I felt like. Scal, I felt like, oh, you guys just think you can just come in here and whatever? Oh, well, we're just going to come in. We'll just. And what I love more than anything is he knew that he had to do what he had to do. It wasn't like, that was just Scal or BJ. No, he was like, I better nip this in the bud.
Yeah.
Scal. He was like, I better nip this in the bud. and then you know what? You know what was really funny though, Scal? Really, just you and I talking. As soon as that episode came out, like the credits hadn't rolled, he called, right? And he just started laughing. And we had the biggest laugh. Scal. We were crying laughing because that's what the game is all about. Like, show up and play. And that's all I wanted. But don't think you can just waltz in here and just like have cookies and ice cream and
for sure.
And that was the funniest thing. And he just said, man, you're funny. He's like, man, you make, and we just laughed and it was good. And that's all you want. You're like, okay, like, yeah, he's who he is. But you know what, Scal? You better come with your A game though.
100%. 100%. This is the greatest line. This is the greatest line in the NBA star as a role player that you can get. It's not, like all these other trash talker. It's none of that stuff. It's all right, motherfucker. I got something for your ass. And if you hear that as a role player, you won. You fucking made it at that point. All right, motherfucker. I got something for your ass. You're like,
hey, Scal.
All the way, baby. All the way.
Hey, Scal, that's it, man.
I can see how you guys spend 5-6 hours at a time talking basketball. I wish we could continue forever. I know you guys have got things to do, places to be. Scal, I want to thank you for coming through. We got to do this again. It would be an honor if you could come back on the show at some point. Because
for sure. Don't come back. I got something for your ass.
Yeah. That's exactly it. If you ain't come back, all right, motherfucker, I got something for your ass. That's a lie.
Man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you both.
All right, Scal, be good. Good luck.
Time. Good luck for the rest of the season. Great job once again on the KG retirement ceremony. And appreciate everyone who tuned in, listened. Make sure you subscribe. And hopefully Scal will come back for a part 2 with a part 2. And until next time, get buckets.